Okay, we're back with another long time ago with Adam and Martin, and this week we've got another guest on to talk all things Star Wars and collecting. He's gone from Mersey to America. Most of you will know him from his popular YouTube channel or from the ZSR Livestream. Some know him as Mark, but we know him as Shabby. What's going on, Shabby? You all right?
Hey, how are you, boys?
Yeah,
nice to see you.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we were a little while ago. We were trying to work out who referenced us as the Long Boys on the ZSR channel. Was it you or was it Tez?
It was definitely Tez.
It was Tez, was it?
Listen, the way it works is whatever happens, if it goes wrong, blame Tez. Even if he's not there, blame Tez.
Yeah,
it's just a lot
we like it. We like that nickname. It's fine.
I must admit, I was
the
thinking,
Long Boys.
I was thinking we should just introduce the show every single time as the Long Boys. It's a much better title.
Would have made our lives.
I think the thing is, you lads have had so many names with us all. Long time ago, long time, Long Boys, Martin and Adam. Do you know what I mean? Those lads that do that. So
yeah, absolutely. Right, so obviously it's mostly a Star Wars related show that we do, so we're going to talk a bit of Star Wars first, but we'll probably get into other things along the way, as we quite often do. But your earliest memory of Star Wars, then, have you got?
My earliest memory was Christmas. There was a Christmas, it's either, I think, 84, because it was after Return of the Jedi. I have 3 brothers, and we weren't a rich family at home, and you know, when we were kids, I think that's why I appreciate toys so much now, because as a kid, you get your birthday and Christmas. It wasn't as if you like we do now, where you can go out every week or every day and buying something. And so we really appreciated toys. Well, one Christmas, we'd all come downstairs, and my mum and dad, I got everything Star Wars. And there must have been a guy that they knew that was, and so yeah. It's funny because I hear people turn around and say things like, "What was your favorite figure or your first memory of a figure or toy?" Mine was all of them. So we come downstairs, and because there was 4 boys,
yeah,
I think the only things that weren't there was an Imperial shuttle, a Y-wing, and a B-wing. But apart from that, everything, the majority of figures, the majority of toys. So toy-wise, that's my earliest memory. Movie-wise, Return of the Jedi. I mean, I was 8 when Return of the Jedi came out, and that's why Luke is my favorite character, because when the gates came up and you saw the silhouette, as in walking into Jabba's palace, it's so vivid, that memory, and it's stuck with me forever. So they're my 2 memories of Star Wars.
Amazing. Yeah,
I agree. It's all about Return of the Jedi. I think we're of a similar age, 40, and you know, I think I totally agree with everything. That it's all about Luke Skywalker and Return of the Jedi, and obviously the blue saber Luke Skywalker.
It's funny because I remember one of your videos. You were looking for a Jedi Luke, and I thought, oh man, this is awesome. And you know, I've got my original one here. And I've always wanted to find. And when I went to Joe Fest a couple of weeks back, there was one there, but the card was battered for 350 quid. But I think that's what it was as a little boy. And it wasn't as if, you know, like it is now, where every day you'll get this is what's happening in the new Star Wars, or this is what's going. When we were kids, it was either what you saw on the news, or or interviews, or in the paper. So when I had no idea, seeing Luke from Empire to what he looked like in Jedi, all in black, doing the Sith moves, doing it, and you thought, this is just the coolest guy on earth. So I loved him.
Yeah, definitely.
Martin, do you want to tell him how many blue saber Lukes you've got now?
Well, obviously my holy grail I've been collecting the graded vintage Kenner figures, and my holy grail was the Luke Skywalker with the blue saber. But thanks to people like Blacked Out Ewoks and John the action figure grader, I've come to realize how many different variants you can get of each figure. So I've now currently picked up 2 Jedi Lukes with the blue saber, one with the snap cape and one with the Stitch cape. And I'm afraid I've seen several other variants, and obviously the green saber Luke that I'm currently trying to get hold of as well. So I think I found,
especially when you talk to those lads, though, innit? Because you'll talk to them, and the first thing they'll say is, "Oh, is that one?"
Yeah.
And then you stop and go, what? Is that the one from Taiwan that does this? And you're like, oh man, how many is there?
Yeah.
Honestly, Shabby, I wasn't expecting any of this when I first sort of started to get to know all of this. Like,
yeah,
I didn't think there would be any variants. I thought it was like one place made them. That's it. They're all identical, more or less, you know. But no,
it's funny.
I can't believe it.
I have a good friend who's in Alaska. I don't know whether you see his Instagram. He has a YouTube page, but his Instagram, it's called Old Plastic. And Old Plastic collects Farm Boy Lukes. That's it.
Oh wow!
And the amount of Farm Boy Lukes that he's got, and all different. You know, every one of them has something a little bit different.
No.
But I'm talking, it's in its third, and he has a whole glass case, just full of Farm Boy Lukes. And it's like what you just said. I knew there was like a Lando, one with teeth, one without teeth, that kind of thing, or a Bespin layers a little bit different. But to go down this route, it's like, where does it end? You know what I mean? It's like there's so many different variations of these figures.
Yeah, I mean, the knowledge those guys have, you know, we'll do a video and then I'll check the comments section, and most people are nice enough to just put one comment, but John's putting in 3 or 4 comments about the figures that I picked up, you know, telling me, and I've made complete errors in what I said on the videos, and he's not doing it in a nasty way, but he's, you know, because he knows that I want to know this stuff, so he's really helped educate, you know, me when it comes to this stuff, and I think this is the most fun I've had collecting in a long time, doing this Kenner run. It's been great. So yes,
it's funny though. We all go into that. You know, I mean, I've got a practically a full collection of, you know, vintage Star Wars, and the majority of lads have. But like you said, the more you meet people like John or like BOE, the more you learn, and it's fascinating, really. You know, it's like the Red 5 book when you open that up and you have a look in it and you see the different variations and the different cards and the things you never knew of. You know, when we've collected this for all these years, I find it fascinating. I really do.
I do as well. And I'm ashamed to say, you know, I've been a collector pretty much most of my life. And I was chatting to Matt about this when he came on. I until we started doing these YouTube videos and podcasts, I had no idea that there was this collecting community out there. This I'd say fairly small, but very tight-knit community of you guys, and it's been an absolute joy to get to know all of you.
I don't even think it's that small. Like, I feel like this community's big. Yeah, I feel like it's
and the thing is, the more and more years that we go on, the more and more we're getting into other. It's like, I don't collect G.I. Joe, but I know most of the G.I. Joe lads, and you go to Joe Fest, and I think we feed off each other. You know, there's so many people know so many different things that you're learning every day, and you find, but people are enjoying everybody's videos, and the community's getting bigger and bigger. That's right. I love it. That's my favorite thing about doing all this, is all the people I'm meeting.
And it's the support everybody gives each other as well. It's I mean, you couldn't ask for anything, you know, greater, really. I mean, it's you know, you guys particularly, you know, on ZSR have just been absolutely great to Adam and I. So yeah, I'm really enjoying all of this this community. It's been absolutely great.
Yeah, we try to make sure we get on and watch every week, don't we? But
we try and get on every week. Yeah,
I think that's what the thing about us. I think the majority of us, you know, if you talk to Reynolds and VTR and myself and Matt Tez, we started this through a COVID thing. You know, we all had these big collections. We all had stuff that we collect and so forth. And I've always looked at it. I mean, I've got you know, I've been with my wife 20 years, but she's not interested. I'm going to try to like, oh, this is this, and it's a 65 back, and that's tell me to get to France. Do you know what I mean? So that's one of the things where we're meeting like-minded people who are going through the same thing. It's like when we have these chats, or when you're on a StreamYard, and there's so many different people from around the world, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, America, England, you know, and everyone's got something in common. I find it fascinating. I love it to pieces.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good.
So TV then, or TV and film, I should say, do you try to watch all of the Star Wars stuff?
Yeah, I watch all the Star Wars stuff. I mean, I'm a massive fan. I would say until recently, about 80% of my collection is all Star Wars. You know, I don't class myself as vintage or modern, because I enjoy it all. You know, if I see something I like, and I think the way people say, well, I'm just a vintage collector, I'm just a this collector, there's so much more stuff out there that you can get hold of. So yeah, I enjoy the TV. I thought the TV was The Mandalorian. The first 2 seasons were superb. You know, I didn't mind Boba Fett. I didn't mind Obi-Wan Kenobi. They were a little bit off. They're not what we wanted. But when you've got a franchise that's been going 40 years that we've all grown up with, we've read the books and read the comics and talk, you're gonna have your own perspective on these things. You know, it's like it becomes a selfish thing, Star Wars, where it belongs to you and this is what you want to see. And I enjoy it. The sequels, I enjoyed the first one. Last 2, I don't even want to talk about.
Yeah,
we're all in agreement there then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. I think I'm, you know, it always made me laugh though during those sequel things where everyone was, I'm never watching Star Wars again, and I'll never do that. I'll never turn my back on it. I'm looking forward to Ahsoka. We'll see what the acolyte's like. So TV, I think The Mandalorian was the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian was superb. I mean, it was like us going back to us kids playing with our toys because there were so many stories in that I mean, you're getting an IG droid with a Yoda on him, driving a biker scout, shooting stormtroopers. That's the sort of stuff we did as kids, you know. I mean, and so to see that sort of thing live was superb. So I don't mind the TV shows.
No, I think I agree. I mean, The Mandalorian, one of the greatest parts of The Mandalorian, especially the first season, I would say, is when you watch the original movies and even the prequels, when you could just pause it anywhere on any frame of the movie, and there would be so much going on in the background. And it's easy to say it felt Star Warsy, but that's the best way I could describe it. And it was the same with The Mandalorian. You know, I rewatched the first season a while back, and you know there was things in the background like the huge pole that Han holds up in the trash compactor from episode 4, just sitting against the wall in the background. And of course, you know, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, you know, they've done that. They know, you know, they've done that on purpose so that people like us spot that. But I think some of these other shows that haven't been made by Filoni and Favreau suffer a little bit from that. They want to try and make it a bit fresher, which is absolutely great. We don't want to be watching the same thing every time, but I feel they're trying to go too far away from what we're used to when it comes to Star Wars. I don't know what you feel.
Well, I do feel something about that. And I've always had an issue with people saying, it's too much like fan service. There's too much we already know. We need to get away from all this. And why? This is what it's all about. Yeah. You know, you would never watch a Batman movie without a Batmobile or without his black cape. You can imagine walking and he's got a 3-piece suit on. You'd be like, what's going on? You know, or Spider-Man being, you know what I mean? That sort of thing always baffles me when people say about Star Wars, it shouldn't be fan service. That's exactly what it should be. It shouldn't be things that we recognize. So, whilst we're not watching Star Wars, you know, the only thing I think came a little bit away from that was perfect to me was 10 out of 10 was Andor. I just absolutely loved Andor. I remember one of the lads we were talking about on our live stream, and one of the lads in the comments said, "No, I'm not sure, Shabby. It feels like a novel." And I thought, that's exactly why I like it. It feels like an old school Timothy Zahn novel, or you know, and it felt like it didn't make us feel like, this is the first time you've seen Star Wars, so let me explain to you like some of them do. This one didn't. It's like the people that watched it, we already know what's going on. We already know what this is about. Yeah. So I thought it was perfect. But I do agree with that. I think Star Wars, it's like my kids, for example, and if anyone wants to get the children involved in Star Wars, they show them the original trilogy. This is, you know, it starts from what we all know. You know, you're not going to start off with, you know, Kenobi or whatever, and then your kids surround and go, hang on a minute, what happened? How come he's there? You start from the beginning and work up. So it should all be fan service to me. Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. Service me, please.
We want to see things like the last man. There was a partner the last season of Mandalorian with the TIE interceptors. That to me is perfect fan service because we saw them glimpses of him in Return of the Jedi, but here they are in this dogfight with a clone ship and the Mandalorians, a Naboo ship. It's perfect to me. That's proper fan service. That's how it should be.
Yeah, no, I agree. What I mean, I know we've only really seen the trailer so far, but are you looking forward to Ahsoka?
I am. I loved Rebels. I thought Rebels was a great TV show, so I am enjoying it. You know, I'm one of those people. There's a lot of people online and the clickbaits of they'll start slating something before it's come out. I wait till I've seen something and I make my own mind up. So I always go in enjoying it. But in a way, from the sequels on to now, every trailer's been awesome.
Yes,
it's
true.
When you get there and you actually watch it, you say, hang on a minute, it's not as, so, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I like the characters, I like Ahsoka, I like Hera, Sabine. It's nice to see Zar. I mean, I think they've done Thrawn from what he looks like, perfect. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I'm a massive Clone Wars fan. I absolutely adore the Clone Wars. And I did enjoy. I think the best way to say I read about Rebels is I always enjoyed the opening episode of a season and the finale episode of a season. I wasn't a huge fan of everything, in between, but that's fine. It was still good. It just wasn't, in my opinion, as good as the Clone Wars. I am extremely, excited to see what the next stage and all those characters. And I think for people like me who found perhaps Ezra a little bit annoying and Sabine a bit annoying, I think when it comes to live action, they're not gonna be like that, are they? They're gonna be.
I can't see it. No. I mean, it's funny you say about the clones. One of my favorite things as well, besides Andor, that came out, is Bad Batch season 2. The way they did the clones in that, the way they've moved on, the way the Empire have totally turned their back on them, the way they're being treated. I thought it was absolutely superb. Yeah. And who's making Ahsoka is the same guys, more or less, that have made the Bad Batch season 2. And I mean, it's easy to say they're not bothered about what the fans are saying or the uproar. I think they are. So I think they're going to go into this taking it seriously. So I don't think we're going to get cheesy characters like we did in Rebels. I think the audience will still be there from Rebels, but they want to entice a different audience for this. Hence why they've made it, live action.
I mean, I know that we don't know until we see it, but what's your thoughts on the them using the world between worlds as part of the storyline, if they do that?
I don't know really, because that's not something we're used to, is it? No. I mean, the comics, the books, the animation, they're the sort of things that diehard style. I mean, I'm a big book collector. I've collected the books since I was a kid. I've read the books. I love the expanded universe. But when you watch that on a TV show, it's like, it's the same as The Last Jedi when they were the way they did the Force, and you've never seen this before. And I think they take it to a place where if you come away from that now, we're all going to try and go, well, hang on a minute, you've got world between worlds, so you can bring this back and bring. I'm not sure. I think they should kind of leave that out because I think it's adding too much on.
I agree. I mean, 100% agreement. I just think time travel in Star Wars, it's not Star Trek, is it? I mean, I love Star Trek as well, but it's not Star Wars.
No, it's the same way as in the sequels when they were doing that light jump thing, where boom, and then there's somewhere else. Boom, and I was like, well, you're adding too much on here. You're giving me too. The thing about Star Wars for me, it should be simple: a beginning, a middle, an end, and the story that goes with. And I think that's why the timeless classics. Adding stuff like this on, I agree with 100%. It's like watching Star Trek in a way, and you watch Star Trek for that. You don't watch Star Wars for that. So.
That's right. So, and I mean, I noticed online today. Is it today that they're going to announce the HasLab, and it's rumored that it's going to be the Ghost?
Today's preview day at Comic-Con. So if you look online now, you're seeing everybody looking at the figures, looking at the thing, and I think it's either Friday or Saturday that the actual Hasbro convention is, when they're their panel, if you will. Okay. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I did see today that that's on the back of one of the cards there was a Bosk for the vintage collection, which is exciting. Finally to get a Bosk in the vintage collection. But do you think you'll be picking up the HasLab if it
no goes? I mean when I first started, I made a video a couple of years back because I went all in on the vintage collection, because to me I'm old school, I suppose, and it was 3.75. That's where it's all started for us. It's easy. I mean, I've moved on to the Black Series, and I've got hundreds of the Black Series.
I've seen your pictures.
yeah. But at the start, I said I never would, because I felt a bit, it's like cheating on your girlfriend. You know what I mean? It's like when you've gone to this new 6-inch, and I was like, oh, I'm not on for this until I saw him. And then I thought, actually, this is a better way. But the thing about the vintage collection is, I remember I was told at the time, don't open them, Shabby. And I was like, well, no, I opened the Ahsoka, I opened the Green. And then you look at the prices down, I'm like, and I made a video of it. So I've got all these loose vintage collections. I still kept the card or whatever. But somewhere along the way, I think I just needed a bit of a change. So I thought, well, I'll move on to the black. I mean, the legacy, the collection. I've been collecting. I've got stuff in here, every different franchise of 3 3/4 inch. And I think along the way, I just decided to go off 3 3/4 inch. But I wish I hadn't, in a way, because how they look now. I mean, the technique that they can do on 3.75 figures is. And I bought a couple of them. I bought the new Ahsoka and the Darth Maul. There's a few of them up there. And I really enjoy it. I really like the way they look. But to me, I think the HasLab it depends where you're looking at. I mean, it's difficult. I don't know whether you guys are getting it or not, but for someone who doesn't collect vintage collection like you do, there's no point me getting a HasLab because I'm not going to stick it anywhere. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, I haven't got any HasLabs as of yet. I kind of regret not getting the barge, but they were just so expensive. It's a big amount of money, isn't it? Just to sort of blow instantly.
If I was going to get one, though, it would be the barge. The barge was beautiful. They've all been nice. Don't get me wrong, every one of them. Yeah. But it's funny because I'm a big Motu fan, and it's funny because I'll sit there and say, how much is that HasLab and so, but then you'll pay 650 quid for Eternia. Do you know what I mean? Whether that's coming. So the price wise, it doesn't really, it is expensive, and you look at it, but who am I to tell people what to spend the money on?
Yeah, absolutely. I find as well, because I'm a carded collector, and also a completionist. I have to have the cards, so you have to make that decision. Do you buy the HasLab or yesterday there was the Jabba the Hutt, wasn't there? I think that was announced, and there's the little Salacious Crumb on the little card that is one of the ones that I haven't got from the Death Star set back in 2012. And do I buy that Jabba the Hutt? I have no interest really in the Jabba the Hutt, but I want the card, but I've got to pay £91 in order to get those 2 cards, and it's a real tough one because you can try and buy them on the secondary market because people will buy them just to resell, won't they, on the secondary market? But then you might end up paying the same you would have paid just and got a Jabba with it, if you bought it initially. So it's a real tough one. And I think this HasLab, if it is the Ghost, it's going to come with the Rebels crew. Yeah. And it's so like, what do I do? What do I do?
You'll be getting
They're very clever though. I mean, they brought out the Jabba's Palace and they brought out the big Fortuna that goes with it. And that's $239, I think $249 over here. And then they bring out that this is nice. So really what you're paying for that thing, because especially us old schoolers, we're gonna go for that Jabba to go for that palace, G-Force, our friend G-Force, he ordered it yesterday. I think with tax and so forth in America, it came to over $100 for that Jabba. But he was like, look at it, Shabby, and it'll go with the palace that you spent $200 and something on, What was he called? The Rogue One X-Wing. And so many people would do, they just wanted the figure. They didn't want the X-Wing and all sort of stuff. So, we're going to be going to all these conventions to see half a box, but no figure in it. But the nicest thing is, though, the 88 is carded that comes with that Jabba. So it will be carded that. Because I know a lot of lads were saying, but I watched the actual Hasbro panel on it. They showed it off for a couple of minutes and he said it will be carded. And I suppose, look behind you, you're not exactly a loose collector. So that sort of stuff's pretty cool that they're still giving you that. And, you can still get, for a collection who's carded. Like I said, all my Black Series are in box. I'm an inbox collector when it comes to Star Wars. Anything else, I'll open and I'll keep loose, whatever. But I admire that. So I'm glad they're still keeping that up where you can get your 88 now with this thing. So if you did just want the figure, at least you can get it carded. So. Yeah,
I envy the people that envy is not the right word, but the people that have carded and loose. How can you find the space for it and B afford? Some of the, like you say, the vintage collection is ridiculously expensive now. Some of the older stuff. So unless you've collected it from the beginning, it's never going to happen.
But I think that's what it was for me as well. I'm a big sucker for collect them all. Do you remember the back of your card when we were kids and it had them all on that yellow background with the numbers and we'd all sit in bed and we'd all go, and we need it. And then at Christmas, you're going to get about 4 or 5 more figures. So you're circling them. And then I think that's one of the reasons why I fell for the red and black boxes in Black Series, because a lot of people didn't really like those. They're a bit plain shabs. But I liked it because of that big, thick number on the side, because I'm a sucker for that, I collected the 112 out of there, but TBC does it too. But where are they up to now? They're in the 200s, aren't they?
280 nearly. It was
280
nearly
something.
300, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and it's getting pricier and pricier. I mean, a 3/4 inch figures when we were kids was the sort of thing your mum would pick up when you did well at school, or you went to the shop with it, so it was a couple of quid, you know, I'll buy him that. And now you're looking at $20 practically over here in the States for a TVC figure. It's amazing.
Do you still have any of your childhood figures?
Yeah, got most of them. There's my vintage Star Wars right there. And I would say 80% of it is all from childhood. We weren't, like I said, it wasn't as if we were going out every week buying figures. You know what I mean, Adam? It's not as if, I broke one. We looked after everything as kids. And we just did a video. Me and my twin brother just did a tubs video. I don't know whether you saw them or not, where our Simon had gone upstairs into his loft. The plumbers were around and he'd found all these huge tubs full of stuff. And he'd brought them down, and most of our childhood toys were there. Your He-Mans, your Brave Stars, Mask, and the majority of it was Star Wars. But I always kept mine in a shoebox with all the accessories and all that. And, you know, it's funny as well because most of my Star Wars collection is still in England, you know, because it's not worth sending over. It costs a fortune to send over. So
when did you move to America?
This is my second time here. I came over here in 1999. And then I went home in 2005, and then we came back in 2014 and been here ever since. So I've spent most of my adult life in this country.
Is there much of a difference in collecting over there than over here in terms of like pricing and things like that?
It is expensive, and the thing is, but I think that's best of both worlds, my friend, because you'll walk into a game and you'll say, I found this for £5, or I found this for £10. Then we'll walk into a place called Ollie's, and Ollie's you'll find stuff like this credit collection for only $7. That's it, which is what, about £4 where you are. So it really, I think it's best of both worlds for that. The issue over here is exclusives. It's an absolute nightmare because you've got, for a wave of figures, you've got to go to about 4 or 5 places to get them: Walmart, Target, Walgreens. You know what I mean? And so and the two big places like Walmart and Target over here, as soon as they say exclusives, you watch every American, they're just like, forget it. You need Indiana Jones to find them for you. Do you know what I mean? They're an absolute nightmare to find. And that sometimes is hard as well. And it's like Walmart was always the value one for Black Series. You go in there and you get them for $19.99. So I remember buying the first Han Solo that came out. Remember the bubble with the orange stripe down it, then they turned to blue. And that was like $13, $14. Walmart are now selling them at $27.99. But on top of that, with tax, you're coming out with Black Series at Walmart for about $30 each, which is crazy, you know? Yeah. And that's the thing as well. The distribution over here is a bit of a nightmare. I did go to Walmart yesterday, and they had the branded TVC wave. They had the Weequay was in there, and so that was the first time I saw them. So that was pretty impressive. But Walgreens over here is more like a pharmacy. It's more like a Boots than it is. You don't go to Walgreens for toys, and yet they have Black Series exclusives at Walgreens, and you're like, why? You know, I need a bar of soap, shampoo, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. It don't make any sense. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, I went to Celebration Germany in 2012, I think, 13, I think it was actually, and they had this is when the Black Series had just started, and I'd collected the orange and the blues when they first came out, and they had the Boba Fett with the Han in Carbonite set. And I picked up 2 of those because you're allowed to buy 2, and I was like, they're really cool. I'll give one away as a present to somebody, and I'll keep the one for myself. I ended up actually giving them both away because I kind of went back to the vintage collection. Yeah. they're worth a bit now, aren't they?
I was going to say, what are they worth?
You could have bought 2 cell barges and all that.
Oh my word! The bad thing is that obviously it was on for 3 days, and each day you could go back and buy 2 more. And my wife was telling me, get another couple, because they're really nice. You never knew there could be an investment, and I don't think like that when I collect. I just think I need one. I don't need any more. But yeah, on the last day there was piles of them still, absolutely piles of them. So they never sold them all. But I guess someone's got a lot in their warehouse right now, waiting to sell them all.
That's the thing about it. I've been collecting forever. I'm not. I didn't stop and start. Along the way, even when my children were born, and I've still collected even not what I do for the past 20 years, but I've always picked up something. You know, I'm a big pop culture enthusiast, and I love that sort of stuff. And it is nice to know that there's things in your collection that, that's worth a bit. That's worth. But that was never the end all for me. Now, you know, it's you know, and I know a lot of people say about the nostalgia about it, and I agree. You know, the reason we have toys and collect it is the nostalgia, but it's only a percentage for me. I've always loved toys. I've always appreciated what they look like. So that's why I never compare vintage with modern. That's why I won't say, oh, well, this is good, but it's nowhere near as good as this. You know, you look at the evolution, and I think if you ever turn around to a 10-year-old Adam or Martin or Shabby and said, you can have this Black series or you can have this, what we're going to pick, you know? Exactly. So I enjoy the vintage Kenneth album for that. I mean, I think the Falcon playset, 79, you can bring out as many Galaxy's Edge ones, and nothing's going to beat that, because that's where it is, where you think that's the greatest place on earth. Or the Endor. I just saw Usual Mike. Our friend Rob just gave Usual Mike an Endor Village, and you're like, how cool is that thing?
That's awesome.
So,
I always wanted the Imperial Star Destroyer playset. I know it's not particularly great, but it was one I never had one vehicle or playset when I was a kid, because much like sounds like you, we didn't have a huge amount of money when I was growing up. And you know, to this day, it's still actually a dream of mine to pick one of those up. You know, just so I can, you know, I think you said it at the beginning, you know, just so I can not relive those childhood memories, but, you know, just say, you know, I remember those times being so great, you know, like you say, looking at the checklist, and in the UK we had Great Universal and Freeman's catalogs and things like that, and they'd have all the pages of toys in the 80s that you'd be, you know,
Littlewood's catalogs, that kind of thing.
That was awesome times.
But it's funny because you talk to people over here like Scuba Pete and they did the same thing over here. The catalog in the 80s was a big deal, where, you know, they'd look through it, and that's one of the things that's funny. I think the more we get to know people around the world, the more our childhoods were more or less the same, but just in different countries. You know, we all look for these figures the same way, bought these figures the same way, you know, and it's funny when people turn around, and I think majority of us have got to thank our mums, because if it wasn't for our mums buying this stuff, you know what I mean? And it's funny because I hear people say, oh yeah, I remember buying that when I was 7. But you didn't buy that though, did you? Your mum bought it, so.
Yeah, classic. So obviously, you know, you are a big Star Wars collector, but, you know, let's move away from Star Wars. What other toy lines do you collect, and you know, what would you say? Would you say Star Wars was your favorite toy line, or do you have a non-Star Wars favorite toy line?
I'd say Black Series is the one I look out for, and what Black Series is the one I really like. But then Origins came along, Motor Origins, and He-Man to me as a kid was just as big as Star Wars. I loved it, you know, and I think it's because they were different than your Star Wars. So in other words, it gave you something else to play with. You know, I wasn't one. You'd put your GI Joes and your Action Force in our case with your Star Wars, but you couldn't put He-Man with them. You know, so it was a different thing as a, you know. And as you're getting older as a kid, He-Man came out in 82, so you feel a bit older yourself. Oh, this is more like a grown-up toy than it is Star Wars. So. The thing about it at the time, there was a thing a couple of years back where all us lads were going mental about pre-orders, about distribution. You couldn't find anything. I mean, you go into a Walmart, you look if you find 2 or 3 figures. And majority of the time, 2 of them is the same figure. And so I needed a change. I needed something to think, you know what, I like to stay positive. I don't like to come online, you know, moaning and ranting about, I can't find this and I can't find that. So I remember watching the Toy Fair, and Pixel Dan it was, and he'd gone to Mattel and they introduced Origins. And one of the things I love about Motor Origins is it's flawless compared to your vintage. It's one of those things where you can put your vintage figures as well as the Motor Origins, and they look exactly, you know, it's not like they don't fit in. It's flawless. You know, the vehicles from vintage or the play sets will work with it as well. And my daughter got really involved too. So every Motor Origins videos we've made on my channel, my daughter's always been in them. And it was nice for me because it was something for me to share with my daughter. She loves this stuff, you know, and we open these. And so I would say Motor Origins is definitely up there. The upgrade of them, I think it's superb. What they've done, Mattel, is they've taken these vintage figures, and instead of completely changing them, they've gone, what can we do to make this better? So you'll hear the lads turn around and say, wow, this is exactly like it was when we were kids, but it's got elbow, articulation and vibrant. Yeah. Transformers I've always liked, but I loved the 86 movie, so I collect the Transformers 86 line, and I'll stick, if I go to somewhere Ollie's and they've got a siege one for what they do in America, once something's on clearance, they're giving it away. You can buy $50 toys for like $10, $19. So, and but apart from that, and I'll pick up the Ghostbusters now and build Motor Origins in Black Series is definitely my two favorites.
Yeah, I had a fair few He-Man figures when I was growing up. One that particularly comes to mind, and you probably have this one, but I can't remember what it was called. But it was a He-Man and Skeletor 2-pack, and it had this chest plate, and you bang the chest plate, and it had varying armor damage or something.
Yeah.
Oh man, I had such good fun with those.
They're just great. It's like I said before, and I don't want to repeat myself. I don't compare. Oh, this is better. I just love that, and it's things like that that were awesome. When I went to Joe Fest, I wanted to find a couple of things. I don't know whether you saw my video or not, of things that I've wanted since I was a kid. I really wanted a Brave Star figure again. I loved Brave Star. The Fortarium and this. So I found 2 of them complete.
Yeah.
I always loved the masked Condor, and then you watch Luke Reynolds, and you're like, oh man, look at that. So, and I found Brad Turner in the mask thing. So little things like that I absolutely love. But I also picked up a Valaverse and saw the quality of them and what those lads at Valaverse are doing. And Scuba Pete sent me a vintage Joe to go with a modern Joe, and I've been really getting into G.I. Joe Classified because it's something to learn. You look at that, and it's funny. Ever since I've been in America, and you look at people's G.I. Joe collections, Martin, I'm just like, wow, man. I mean, this, I would have loved it. But I've got no recollection of G.I. Joe as a kid. I
don't. I think, was it called Action Force?
I was going to say.
Action Force I had. Yeah. Well, I remember, but then people show me Action Force, and even that's like done like a G.I. Joe. And I'm like, well, that must be later on, because I remember Action Force being 5 POA. I don't remember it being a G.I. Joe, if you will. And then obviously, as you get older and you realize that it was G.I. Joe, Hasbro, that owned that line, and obviously they lent the license to, the Americans go mad for Action Force because it was never over here, so they'll get the same sort of tanks and the same ships or whatever, but they're either a different color or got different stickers, and they'll pay through the nose for it. They really will. So
you all seem to have a really good time at Joe Fest.
It was awesome. You have to come next year. It was awesome. Come over,
please. Don't. I mean, you just have to say it, and I'll be there because. We're just off on a tangent. I mean, my wife and I actually would really like to live in the States eventually, because I just love the idea of all of the conventions and things you have over there, not just for Star Wars, but for everything. And we do have conventions here, as you well know, but they're just, they're in a different level over there, aren't they? Really.
Yeah, I think one of the things for over to me was I was talking to I'm good friends with Scuba, and Scuba, I was saying about Joe Fest, I'd like to go, but I'm not sure. And he said, but Shabby, he said, there's so much more there, and he's exactly right. It's classed as Joe Fest, but I would say half and half of it is everything. There is nothing you can. I mean, I went in with this idea of finding Brave Star and came out with vintage Motu, vintage Brave Star. It was just huge, but it's funny. I don't know whether you do it at Echo when you went to Echo Celebration. You're walking and there's people that off YouTube or you've seen on live streams, and they come, "Hi, Shabby, you all right?" You're like, "Oh, this is weird," because I'm no superstar on YouTube. I just enjoy the community. But it's
Adam and I didn't get one eyelid raised as we were walking around Echo Base, but that's fair enough. We don't.
But next year you probably will.
I was going to say we were a lot smaller then, weren't we? As a channel, it's grown.
Every year that goes by, you meet more people, and you get. It's like. There's pictures of me with Sergeant Slaughterhouse and Wilhelm Toys and Go Figuring. That's one of the nicest things where, like we were saying at the start of this talk, where you get to meet so many different people and everyone's in different stuff, and you see people, and you either go to watch a live stream and there'll be people in the chat that, oh yeah, I know that. So you feel that you're part of it straight away. I love all that stuff.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's just nice to be part of a group of people who are so friendly and knowledgeable about stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah. So favorite figures, have you got any favorites in the collection?
Return of the Jedi Luke. It's just, if I had to get rid of everything now, Adam, and I only could keep one thing, it's that figure, man. It's so funny as well. Sometimes I sound a bit hypocritical because I'm like, oh yeah, Black Series is nice. That Kenner Return of the Jedi Luke to me is just the greatest figure ever. It's just, even now, 40 plus years. And the funniest thing is, I know some of you in England had a problem with the 40th anniversary cinema Return of the Jedi. Did you ever go and see that this year? Did you manage to go and see it?
I was actually in Florida at the time at Disney World, and it was on the. No, I had tickets, but I wasn't feeling particularly well. It was a sort of a midday showing, and I really didn't feel well enough that I thought I could go to the cinema. So I missed out on seeing it, and I'm so devastated because everybody who went said it was, it was just such an amazing experience.
I loved it,
the big screen,
and it was packed. I mean, I'm in North Carolina. And my wife was awesome for that, man. She bought the tickets and said, Shabby, we're going to go to this tonight and we'll go out for beer. And I thought, this is going to be awesome. Now, this is a movie we have seen. You can't say how many times you've seen it. You could actually go to bed and probably recite every word to the beginning to the end of it. But seeing it there, and it was so busy and everyone was cheering at the end. And this is what I miss. I miss Star Wars giving me that look at this. This is awesome. And that's the thing about these films. You're never going to get these films again. I understand that. But a lot of people say they're lightning in a bottle and that's why we won't see them again. I don't think so. I think it's the love, thought, and creativity that went into them. Remember, these films were wrote as one movie in the early 70s. Then he split them up and did it that way. So my point is that he took the time to make these. It wasn't just, there's Star Wars, give me your money. Like it feels like it is sometimes now, and I'd love to have those days back.
Yeah, no, I mean, seeing a Star Wars film on the big screen, I mean, even if you've got a nice big TV and a surround sound system at home, it's still not the same as watching it on the big screen. It's and with a big bunch of people. And something they do in America that we don't particularly do here is all the woo, the cheering.
Yeah, they did it at the end of that. Our 14-year-old movie, everyone's cheering. Well, it's funny as well because I have an 18-year-old son. We took him and his girlfriend. His girlfriend had never seen Star Wars, doesn't know anything about it, and she loved it. Yeah. And that's the thing. And we came out and I said, so what did you think? First of all, we were laughing because it's a bit funny starting at Return of the Jedi, but she absolutely loved it. And I loved those days back. That's one of the only thing about the sequels that I really enjoyed was The Force Awakens. Not necessarily the film itself. I didn't mind it. It was the aura around it. Star Wars was back. Everyone's talking about it. There's new figures. There's, you could feel it. You're going into... Toys R Us was open at the time, and you're going in there and having a Star Wars fun day, and the people getting dressed up, and there's rows and rows of figures like it was when we were kids. And I love that sort of thing. It should be a big deal, Star Wars. It shouldn't be, just use the name and try and get as much money as you can. They need to get back to that where you make it top of the list. There's a reason it's there, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the build up to a Star Wars movie is sometimes better than the movie itself. I mean, the prequels. I mean, I was 21 when Phantom Menace came out, and it was just peak Star Wars. I mean, obviously, I was an original trilogy kid, but I'd waited such a long time to watch Star Wars, and I love the prequel trilogy. Just throwing it out there, I genuinely.
I'm the same. I love it.
I realize it has its flaws in certain areas, but for me, it's pure and utter Star Wars, and no one will ever change their mind on that. And the build up to each of those three movies just felt like being 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old again, like you say, going into the stores, buying up the figures for the new characters that you didn't know anything about, hoping that these characters were going to be massive, and then finding out that actually they were just a background character who didn't say anything, but it didn't matter because they looked cool. Collecting all the Sunday supplements that came with the papers on the weekend that the film was coming out, just stuff like that they just don't seem to do anymore, unfortunately. But I guess
it's funny because a lot of people go on about the 96 in the vintage collection. Oh yeah, we need to finish off the 96 and so forth. One of my favorite vintage collection figures was Zam Wessel. I loved that figure. I've still got it because of all the little bits, the different head it came with, the scarf, the rifle, the guns. I thought that was such a well done figure. That
right.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. It's funny when people say to me, oh yeah, but Attack of the Clones is crap, Shabby. And I'm like, oh, what about that bit with Django and Obi-Wan? Oh, I love that bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I love that bit. They're like, well, it's not really that bad, is it?
Exactly. You have to see past some of the dialogue sometimes and try and take an overarching sort of view of the whole story. It's because it's quite a clever story that he's trying to tell. And I think the Clone Wars beefed that out a lot more. So if you've seen the Clone Wars, it gives you so much more context with what was going on. But anyway,
but I think that's what the difference between the prequels and the sequels was. Regardless of the acting, regardless of there's actually a story there. Yeah. Same thing as the original trilogy, as a beginning, as a middle, as an end, and it finishes. And so the arc of Anakin Skywalker, and and that's the thing. You watch this new sequel, and I have no idea what the story is. It's like, hang on a minute. It's like so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fighting the urge. I'm fighting the urge, Adam.
We'll just be repeating ourselves, really, won't we?
True.
It's the same
But
old
how
stuff.
can Anakin spend 6 films, the first 3 films, trying to find a power to save the one he loves, and that becomes the reason why he turns to the dark side? Yet in The Rise of Skywalker, all of a sudden Rey can heal people who have died. Yeah, Anakin couldn't discover how to do it. Therefore, it makes the whole of his story null and void and quite pointless. I just,
I think that's one of the things. I've never known Star Wars to be debated so much as what the sequel trilogy is. Because honestly, sometimes you feel, to me especially, like they walked into a kindergarten with a bunch of crayons and threw it across and said, "Right, Star Wars." Oh, all right, no problem. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm just baffled by it sometimes. And I think that's what people's issues were. It's funny. People say, "Oh, well, everyone expects high expectations from Star. Everyone expects this," because you've put it on that pedestal, not us. You're the one who said, "Well, you'll have to wait for a year and we'll keep it secret." So when you get there and see it, you're kind of like, "But I understand things move on and things." But to me, a lot of people turn around and say, "Oh, well, the sequels in 10 years, everyone will change their mind." I don't think they will, and the reason for that is you've made it for today's audience, which means in 10 years, this is going to look so old, this movie, because, do you remember back then when people were talking about that and people were talking about this and that? With a timeless classic like the original trilogy, that's why I say when you can walk into a cinema 40 years after, it still gives you the same buzz it did back then, because it's just a simple story. And I think that's where they went wrong. They tried to put too much modern day real life stuff into Star Wars. I always made me laugh. I was heartbroken about Luke Skywalker in it. I mean, heartbroken. And people say to me, "Yeah, but the thing is, Shabby, people grow up and they get grumpy and all that." My response to that is, these characters aren't real.
No.
He's not really grumpy. He's actually called Mark. He's not even called Luke, and that's what put me off in a way, because if you did to any other character in pop culture franchise what you did to Luke Skywalker, there would be imagine doing this to Batman or Spider-Man or Superman or anybody else. People would just lose their marbles. But because it's Star Wars, it has to, I don't know, it drove me crazy.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I really liked Rey as a character, and I'm actually quite looking forward to this new movie that they're talking about making with her, because I think I'd like to think they learned some of the mistakes that they might have made, and they'll have a good think and a long think about the story they're going to tell, and try something completely fresh. But at the same time, remember that where it came from, back in the past. So I'm cautiously optimistic about that, and I'm actually quite looking forward to it. So
I said this on I was on Only One Kenobi's, and I was talking to Nick, Only One, and as we were talking about the sequels and everything else, and my response to that about the Rey movies, I'll do the same thing. Not one of us woke up that morning and went, "Right, today I'm going to hate Star Wars." You didn't read, right? I've done it for 4 years, bought the books, bought the figures, talked about it, wear the t-shirt. But today I've decided that everything else that comes out is awful. Yeah. None of us did that. None of us were racist. None of us were sexist. None of us had an issue with it. No. And I think that's what it is. The problem with Rey, she was just written so poorly. But I agree with you 100%. If we go and see this Rey movie, and basically they've worked it out and they've developed it properly and gave us a story, I'm all for it. Why not?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's gonna be good. Hopefully.
Well, I was going to say that they managed to get it right with Rogue One, didn't they? So it's not like Disney can't do it. They can do it.
That's what it is. So it's no coincidence that Andor, even though a lot of people didn't watch it because they were put off by everything, it's perfect, and it's made by the same guy who made Rogue One. And I think that's what the difference is. I think, you get creative people in there, and it's like the writer's strike and the actor's strike that's over here at the moment. Nobody cares. Honestly, Adam, nobody's bothered because we're all laughing and joking, and we're having our discussions and our debates, especially in pop culture, communities that we've all built up. And we're like, well, you're not giving us anything to look forward to. You want more money for giving us really bad stories, really, And so I'm all for it. I'll never turn my back on it. And I'm looking forward to the Dawn of the Jedi. See how James Mangold does that, and what's the other one? The other one is the Mandalorian verse, isn't it? Well, let's see what happens there. So, but the Rey one, I'll see how it goes. I'll definitely go see it.
I think you brought it up earlier, the Acolyte. I'm really looking forward to that because I don't know if you've read. You say you've read you read the EU. I mean, have you read Darth Plagueis novel?
Yeah,
I love that novel so much, and I know it's not canon, but I just hope that they use some of the ideas from that to introduce eventually. Is it Darth Tenebrous and then then to Darth Plagueis and then to Sidious? If hopefully they don't forget that those ideas were already out there, and hopefully we'll get a bit of that because Palpatine / the Emperor / Sidious has always been probably one of my favorite characters in the movies.
But I hope they stick with that. It's the same way. It's like everyone was saying about Ahsoka being kind of like the heir to the Empire. And I'm like, well, let's see what that's like first, because these books mean the world to a lot of people. If you mess it, I don't mind you taking elements and sort of it. There's a book by Timothy Zahn called Allegiance, right? And the Bad Batch is basically that book. So if you watch the Bad Batch, I was like, as soon as I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes, I was like, this is Allegiance. It's about the Allegiance is the same thing. Stormtroopers, there's a sniper biker scout. They end up accidentally killing someone and they go on missions with Mara Jade, and they do the same thing the Bad Batch does. So I didn't mind it. If they're not going to come out and say they took elements of it, but they took elements of it. The thing about the Acolyte is, I agree with you. If you stick with some sort of format with that, fair enough. But then you watch the interviews at Star Wars Celebration, and it's all about inclusivity. It's all about diversity. So nobody cares. Nobody our age is interested in that. We just want a good story. So the way they sell it is different to what we want to watch, because I don't want to listen to all that. I just want a good story. So I'll watch the Acolyte. I'll see what it's like. The format of it's good, doing something about the Sith and the Jedi look for him, and I think it's going to be perfect. But we'll see what happens when it comes out.
Yeah, having this, having obviously, they won't know the Sith are there, but knowing the Sith are in we as an audience, knowing the Sith is in the background, manipulating everything. I think, and how they got to the position where, they were able to reveal themselves in the Phantom Menace. I mean, I'm really excited if they go down that route, to be quite honest with you.
I love the way they tie stuff like that in. I think The Mandalorian is perfect at that, bringing every sequel into it, and the way they do it is very subtle. Again, going back to what we were talking about fan service, I love that sort of stuff because a lot of people say, no, we need the world to be a lot bigger. Yeah, but I like it when they fill in gaps. That's because we're now 40 years after, we're kind of getting a better timeline of when these things happen than we ever have done. I remember in the books, then they still do it. They give you a timeline of when things were coming. But these TV shows and these new movies, they're filling them in even more. So I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I remember obviously we all know the Thrawn trilogy, and then I loved the trilogy of books. There was Kevin J. Anderson did what was it called, the Jedi Knight trilogy or the Jedi?
Right,
yeah. That I love those books, and Admiral Darla, I remember, was a fantastic character that I wish they'd bring back. And then I think it followed up with Dark Saber, I think it was called. And that was another fantastic book where Captain Pelion came back and he took over eventually as Admiral Pelion. I'm just like you. I've read all those books, and I never read any of the new Is it the new Jedi Order books? I never read any of those. But
no, the High Republic I wouldn't get into. It wasn't really for me. I thought I'd rather stick with what I know, and and I don't know. There was something about the High Republic that just not rubbed me the wrong way. I just wasn't interested in it, so I stuck with that. It also depends on how they do Thrawn, because when you read a Thrawn novel, whether it be the original Thrawn novels or the new ones, when you look at him in Rebels, he's more or less a completely. He's more like a villainous kind of character in Rebels, which I understand. It's an animation thing. You need to come across that who he is. But I would love to see the one like from the books, because he's not a villain. This is what he does for a living. That's why I think my second favorite character of all time in Star Wars was Tarkin, for the exact same reason. He wasn't a villainous twirling, let's kill everybody. He was doing his job, and he did it very successfully. And I think if they do that with Tarkin in this, it's gonna blow up. It's gonna be brilliant.
Yeah, it's gonna. I just hope they make Thrawn a little bit more menacing than he was in Rebels because they just defeated him every week, and it just
exactly this the chiss, the whole thing is about how smart they are, how technically savvy they are, and I'd love them to stick with that. I'd like them to do the way the books do, where basically it's showing how he works, how his mind works, how he constructs different elements and different pieces in a war, and you think that's unbelievable. I mean, and he's very calm, and he'll look at a piece of artwork and tell you everything about that person through that. But you are right, happens in Rebels, and every week he's defeated by some 14-year-old kid, and you're like, hang on a minute,
I need to catch up on it. I think Martin's still got to send out a little list of the best Rebels episodes to watch
I've sent you a list of episodes to watch in preparation for Ahsoka, because I think you really genuinely need to watch probably end of season 2 and the last 4 or 5 episodes of season 4, because I think there'll be probably a lot of connections going on there.
I agree with that, but I don't think any animation is going to beat the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars is superb for me. It's just them stories are fantastic.
I mean, Tales of the Jedi was really good. I really enjoyed that.
I did. I like that.
I'm looking forward to the series. They're doing a second season of that, aren't they?
Yeah, they've just done the second season of Visions as well, which I really enjoyed more than the first one. First one was all right. It started off really brilliant with the Japanese style one at the start of it, and then it went a little bit off. But this second season's been amazing.
Yeah. I'll have to maybe get back into that, because I sort of, it lost me on the anime style program, with the band, and I think it was Jabba or the
pod
I can't really remember. Pod racing.
Yeah, the one with there was that rock band in Jabba Road.
The rock band.
That was a bit,
completely lost me, and I was like, well, if it's going to be like this, I think I'll tap out now.
They've reached out to a few more. It's the same type of thing. I mean, every episode is a different animated style. Yeah. Aardman have done it this time, and you've got monsters. And that was superb. But there's a lot of Japanese influence in this one, and one from India, which was amazing. That one from India was really good. So I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to spoil it for you, but this season of Visions is definitely worth watching. I've enjoyed most of it.
Hopefully, get to watch that at some point soon. I don't suppose it's not relevant to anything, is it? It's all standalone stories, isn't it? So
watch it most of the time as well. It's stories about people you have never heard of, you don't know. So that's what makes them good. You can go back and forth to them. If there's an animated style that you don't like, Adam, it's not as if you have to sit down and watch it because you might miss something. The next episode has nothing to do with that one, you know. So
that's good. Right, let's talk a little bit about the ZSR channel then. Right. How did that come about?
I felt sorry for these lads, and they weren't doing well. No, it was really straightforward. We'd all done I was never one for YouTube at all, mate. I was never one to, I'm going to be famous, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do nothing. I used to watch these lads in England, and then I got invited on it once, and then I stayed on it. Shabby stayed on it. So we built something while we were there, and that didn't, we did that for about a year or so, and it didn't really work out at the end of it. So I thought, well, I'd still like to do this because I like talking to the lads every Friday. It's like when you phone up your mates and say, do you want to meet in the pub for an hour and do this? That's how we basically made ZSR. So I turned around to Matt and Tez and said, listen, what do you think about us three doing this? And they were on board. They loved it. So we've always had a good chemistry, me, Matt and Tez. And so we started ZSR, and now up to 111 episodes with it. And it's just worked really well. What we decided to do at the start, and I don't really want to speak for them two, but the principle of it was, let's make it interactive. So let's bring so when you watch a ZSR, it's more or less like every member of the chat is in there with us. And we have a technique of basically the way we talk to our chat is like they're in the same room. And we've had a very loyal fan base. I mean, we've just grown bigger and bigger, and we enjoy it. We never take ourselves seriously, if someone's internet's not working properly or someone's we just laugh it off. It's not, it's not a big production value thing. And I think that's what the people that watch us like about us, when there's no big heads.
It's really relaxed, isn't it? It's
really relaxed. And we're very, very lucky. We've had so many people on it, really big YouTubers, people that are just starting, people that don't even have YouTube channels. I find it important that there's people out there that have a huge collection and want to be part of this, but they don't like being on screen. They don't like being on, you know what I mean? Or they don't set, but that doesn't mean they're less important to the people that are. So there's people that have really good, Instagram pages, and you'll go onto their page and you'll, wow, look at that. We've had them sort of people on. And I think that's what me, Matt, and Tez do. We try not to make anyone feel intimidated. You're as welcome as possible. We don't care how many subs you've got. We don't care if you've got a YouTube channel. If you're part of this community, come in and talk to us, So I love doing it. It's brilliant. And the two lads I do it with, I couldn't wish for nicer lads. They're superb, both of them. They make me laugh. Sending me pictures of dinners with great. Matt's on holiday this week. Sends me a picture of his sausage and gravy pie with a gravy. He sends that halfway across the world for me just to have a look at it. I won't repeat what I said, but I mean, brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. I have just remembered there was one thing I was going to ask you about, wasn't there? You put a picture up on Instagram of your furniture.
Yeah.
Star Wars furniture.
Yeah.
How did you make that? How did that come about?
Yeah, I make them all. I think the thing about it as well is to get, so I don't get in trouble with the lights and stuff. I make one of ones, and but I've done everything from big dining tables to bedroom sets. We hand paint as well. We did a hand painted Boba Fett desk, which was really cool. I want to promote my Patreon, but what I did was it's on my Facebook page. Our business is on Facebook where we sell our stuff, but it's also on Patreon as well. But yeah, we make a lot of stuff, and I don't tend to advertise it as much on YouTube on YouTube or Instagram. But if the reels came up on Instagram because he said, do you want to make this? I thought, oh yeah, I love that piece. I'll make that, But if you go to my Facebook page, it's Shabby Geek, which is we have two. It's actually called Shabby Jacks. And we started off by making shabby chic furniture and hand painted furniture and we restore furniture and stuff. But then I thought I'd love to do the pop culture. So I've done. There's nothing I haven't done, from My Little Pony to Indiana Jones. I mean, we do it professionally. We've been doing it for over 15 years. We're quite well known for what we do in the furniture. I just don't share it as much, really. This, I should do really, but
absolutely.
Yeah, we've made some awesome stuff. Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff we've made, my wife does the hand painting, and my wife is ridiculous. It's amazing watching that. There's another one I put out with a table, and that Millennium Falcon that's in the middle of it is all hand painted. It's all done with oils and this and that. And it's the same thing when we did the Boba Fett desk. We've done a Yoda table, baby oil, everything. Yeah. But the nicest thing about doing Star Wars is the fact that there's so much you can do. You can turn around and say, I just want to do I did an evolution of the Stormtrooper. It was a huge dresser, and I wood burnt the top. And I put every helmet from original Clone Trooper all the way up to a First Order Trooper. And did them all the way across. And on the front cover, there's all Biker Scouts, Snow Troopers, Clone Troopers. And that's the thing about this franchise. There's so much you can actually do. So when people say, oh, Shabby, will you make me one of these? My next, what do you want? I've done, if you watch my early videos, there's all card backs on the table I made. So if you go back to 2 years ago and watch a Shabby video, you'll see this huge table that I sit on, and it's all card backs. That's
the one I was going to bring up.
Yeah,
I was going to say I'm going to have to commission one of those myself and get you to send it over to the UK, because that was amazing.
Yeah, I love that, and I broke it. The funny is, we moved and I dropped it, and I thought, oh, you're joking. And I always said I'll do it again, but I haven't done. But I just made Scuba Pete a G.I. Joe one with all G.I. Joe comics on it and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing it. And like I say, we do it professionally because I know it's going in people's houses. So this is not just me with Mod Podge putting glue on it, sticking. No, it costs us quite a bit to do with the type of card we use and the lacquer we use and this and that to make it sure that it lasts a long time. And it's funny because people will still buy off us now. And when we drop it off at their house, there's stuff I put in there 10 years ago and it still looks cool. So it makes me happy that thinking, yes, you know what I mean? It still looks awesome. So yeah, we love it. We love doing it. We've got to be careful. Like I say, I can't mass produce it because then I'm in trouble. Do you see what I mean? But apart from that, I mean, if you make one of ones, we're fine. So every time, it sounds like I'm promoting my business.
No, please do. Honestly,
no, please do.
What it is every time you buy off me. So in other words, say for example, Adam bought something off me, and then you turn around, Martin, and said, oh, I'd love what Adam did. I'd make you one, but it'd be a little bit different to that one. Do you see what I mean? So, and I think people like that. They're getting one of ones off us. So, but honestly, mate, My Little Pony I've done, Barbie I've done. I'm doing one at the moment. What am I doing at the moment? There's a new, do you want me to show you a new Star Wars one?
Yes, please do. Right, we love it.
I'll see if I can take my camera off though, because I know what it's like here. So let's just see if I can do it. This is a new Star Wars one I've just finished. Hang on. Right. So if I bring you over here, if I put the light on. Right. So this.
Teddy Ruxpin in the background.
Yeah. So let me just put this light on here. So this is a new chest of drawers I've just made.
Oh, wow.
So like that. And then on top of it, but do you see the shine to it?
Yeah.
So we lacquer it about 7 or 8 times. We buff it up and it gives it that look. And then next to it is a Demon Slayer one, the anime Demon Slayer.
I'm not familiar with that, no, but
Yeah.
that does look awesome. I mean, imagine having that as a kid in your room. I mean, that's wow. You say you don't talk about it very much. You need to be talking about this a lot more, Shabby.
We do. It's funny because we've got you look at your YouTube channel and you go, oh, I've only got this many views, that many views, whatever. But on my actual page where my furniture, we're massive. We've got a big cult following, me and Jen, of what we do. And it's funny you should say that about imagine being a kid with this stuff. I would say I have made hundreds of pieces, and I can count on one hand how many are for kids.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Over in America, they have these basements, don't they? Have these man caves, and so they're always in there. Yeah. I made a huge Boba Fett table, and it was awesome. That's in a tobacco shop in Raleigh, which is the capital of North Carolina. So when you walk into this tobacco shop, which is all cigars everywhere, there's a huge Boba Fett table right in the middle of it.
Oh my god, that's incredible! Wow, this is blowing my mind. It's absolutely blowing my mind. Yeah. So do you ship to the UK?
I only for stuff like there's been a lot of people that ask me, "Oh, Shabby, will you do this, do that?" And I do jewelry boxes, like boxes or trinket boxes. I'd send that over, but this stuff it would cost an absolute. It would cost you like $800-900, and it's what we do. We always try and keep our prices down, so because we understand inflation, we understand what's going on, so it just wouldn't be worth it. I've got friends who always say, "Oh, Shabby, will you send me a desk over and make it flat packed?" I'm like, "Yeah, but even that's going to cost an absolute fortune, So
you need to franchise, my friend.
Yeah. But I enjoy it. I also enjoy it. We do these horror ones, and we make these horror ones, and then we pour blood and we make it so it looks like blood's coming out of it from the top. I'll send you pictures. Where do you want to see? I'll send you pictures.
Yeah, send some pictures and we'll pop them on the video as you're talking about it.
Okay, I'll do that then. When does this go out? So
this will probably come out next Friday. Probably put it out 5 o'clock next Friday. So
people will get a double dose of Shabby if they watch the ZSR afterwards.
Exactly, yeah. They can have a dessert of ZSR.
Well, I'll send you some pictures, definitely. I'll tell you what, because it's a Star Wars show, I'll send you a Star Wars one. So I'll do that.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Cool, amazing. All right. I think we can end it there, can we?
I think so. I need to go and lay down.
Thanks
so much for coming on, Shabby.
Man, I've had the time of my life. This has been awesome. Thank you so much. I watched Matt on this show, and I thought, he's done. I enjoyed it. I'm glad you lads have joined in. And it's so funny because I remember you going to Echo and watching your video, and then Matt said, "Oh, I'd heard of these lads," and I thought, I know who these lads are. I've just watched their video. Do you know what I mean? So brilliant.
That video's done us well, to be fair.
Well, I mean, you talk about me. How are you two enjoying doing all this and getting involved with people? And
it's been great, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's opened up. It's like discovering a new hobby. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but
no, I think it is. Yeah. I mean, I didn't have any of this until 7 months ago.
It's fun though, isn't it? I mean, that's why I laugh and joke and mess around and make silly YouTube videos, and because I just find it all. I've always looked at this as like a Star Wars, a form of escapism. You have your you have your kids, you have your mortgage, and then you come here just to have a bit of fun. So I'm loving it. And think about it now. You two can go how many places in the world and stay with people now? Like Scuba Pete did. When Scuba Pete went over, he was treated like the king of blooming America, wasn't he, last year when he went over?
Yeah.
It's been absolutely great. I mean, I not that I have any illusions of grandeur when it comes to this, but part of me wishes that I could just give up my job and just do this all the time because I love it so much. It's just such good fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you bring such good energy as well to your channel and to ZSR.
Because I love this stuff, man. It always makes me laugh when I mean, this is just my opinion. I can't talk for anybody else. We all are different. We all have different personalities, different things. But I love this. I think it's, I always like to, and there's people out there that don't have a big personality, that are a little bit shy, but that doesn't make them not welcome. Everybody's welcome in this. I made a point when I first started to be as manners and being nice to everybody costs you absolutely nothing. These figures cost more than the bloody manners. Do you know what I mean? So I make sure I'm nice to it. I'm welcoming to everybody. I couldn't be any other way. I'm a people person, That's why I can never shut the France up.
No, we love it.
yeah. No, it's amazing. If anyone hasn't subscribed to Shabby's channel, you absolutely should. You're close to 1,000 followers now, aren't you? So
no, nowhere near. I'm at 870. Do you know what I mean?
Well, honestly, I mean, it's close.
That's close.
There.
It's pretty close.
Hopefully you get a few more.
I know it's the old cliche. I'm not really bothered about views and stuff. We all are bothered about views and stuff. We won't say anything, but to me, it's not the be all and end all. I've always looked at this is why every time I get sent a gift or I get to meet somebody or something happens, I put it in a video, because this is and it's going to sound dead cheesy, but it's the only way I can work it out. It's like an old photo album for me, this. In 5-10 years, you can look back and think, oh man, I remember that. And I remember meeting that person. I remember going there. And I love all that. That's why I keep a memory. That's why, again, views and subs is one thing, but the way I make my videos, I can be proud of every one of them.
Exactly.
I put my heart and soul into them. So
your video where you received the Imperial shuttle, the Tidarian shuttle. I mean, that I was like, I was there with you on that one, Shabby. It was quite a touching, that video.
It was. The thing about it is, and I've never been one to come on here and pretend to know stuff I haven't. I'm not, if I don't know something, I'll be the first to go, well, actually, I don't know. Can you tell? Look how much I get slated on USR for movies. You haven't seen that, Shabby. You haven't seen that. I get it constantly, And that was something I never had as a kid, and I always loved it. My favorite film in Star Wars is Empire Strikes Back, but my favorite scene is when Luke and Vader meet in Endor, and they're talking about, you're not really my father. That scene, it doesn't matter. I've seen it 50 million times, and it gets me every time. But I love that Imperial shuttle, the way it comes in, swoops, and it's just something I'd never seen before. So me and my wife were talking about it, and John Baldry sent me one, and it's up there at the moment. I'll keep it forever. I keep everything forever, and and I think it overwhelmed me over the simple reason. And this is why I always make videos when people send stuff in and so forth, is because there's somebody out there that's watching you that thinks, oh, Shabby'd like that. And for them to take time out, watch your thing, comment on you, support on you. You don't have to do billions of videos, but they watch you. And they decided to do that for you. I think that's what overwhelmed me, that there was somebody out there that went, oh, Shabby would love one of these. I mean, an Imperial shuttle. It's not something you get every week, is it? So it blew me away, that. So
it's really lovely, really nice of them. Really.
I should have talked about Ferrari though, and then I would have got one.
That's the way. Okay, well, everyone go over to Shabby's channel. I'll leave the links in the description. You're on most of the socials. You're on all the
all through Shabby Geek. You can find every time you write Shabby Geek, either Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you'll find me. So
perfect. Well, that's good. Yeah, nice. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Shabby.
Cheers,
Shabby. It's been great having you. Thanks to everyone out there watching or listening. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.